I'm going to do a little video here on some of the modifications that I've done to my Lee Pro 1000 reloading press. I did a previous video about the modifications that I've made, but I was unable to squeeze everything in on that one video. I'm going to start this video off with the digital bullet counter that I've got hooked up. I'm going to turn it on here. It's controlled with a little on and off switch. It's a 4-digit counter. It's 5 volts DC. I got it off of eBay. Because it's 5 volts DC, I of course had to have a little transformer. The transformer is inside the control box, which is actually a cheap plastic Plano tackle box. Anyhow, that counter is hooked up by wire, of course, to the press, and I can disconnect it if I want to change presses. I've got the wire plugged in with a jack, and that plugs into the bottom of the case, and like I say, that way if I want to change presses, it's no big problem. The wire goes down to a limit switch, which is mounted in the left front hole on the Lee Pro 1000. This hole was not actually used on the Pro 1000. It's just an empty tapped hole. So I made a little L bracket out of 1/16 aluminum, and I attached the limit switch to the side, and of course that's connected by wire to the case. Each time I depress the switch, the limit switch down at the bottom, the counter will go up a digit. Now, in order to get this thing to trip, what I did was I cut a little piece out of a top of a 5-gallon bucket. I wanted something flexible, and I mounted it on the screw for the bullet case feeder. The bullet case feed screw bolt is normally 3 inches long. If I had mounted it on the bottom of the normal threaded rod for the bullet or the case feeder, I would have been right at the very bottom edge. So I went and got a longer bolt for the case feeder, and I got a 4-inch bolt, and I put it on a 4-inch bolt. That way, if I should happen to raise, if I need to raise the case feeder due to using a different caliber, I've still got plenty of room on that rod to use the switch. And I'll zoom out here. I guess I should have positioned the camera to where you could see both the counter and the press. Now, on the counter itself, there's a couple of, in addition to the on-off switch, there's a couple of buttons. Inevitably, you're going to get a case that's bad or whatever, and using the switch on the press, it only counts up. But I needed something to adjust the counter in the event of a bad case. So I put a momentary switch in, and each time I press the momentary switch, the counter goes down 1 digit. In addition to that momentary switch, there's a big black switch, and that's a reset button. It resets the counter back to 0. Another modification I made, not actually to the press itself, but to the overall setup. Everybody, of course, needs good light and needs to be able to see down by their shell plate to make sure that there's powder in the case and all that sort of thing. I do have a light that is on an arm behind the press and clamped to the back edge of the table, but it doesn't really shine. It's hard to position to get it to shine down on the shell plate really bright. So what I did, again, because I had to get a 5-volt power to the case for the digital counter, I also put I hooked a USB port at the bottom edge of the case. Now, USB power is 5 volts, just like this digital counter is. So I put a USB port there, and I bought a laptop gooseneck USB light. Well, all I have to do is to get a good light on my down on the shell holder is plug my USB light in, and then I can bend the gooseneck on it whatever way I want to get the light right down by the case. It really lights everything up good. It's the light has 18 LEDs in it, and you know, when you got 18 lights shining right down there, it's really nice and bright, and it worked out real well because I can get the light out and unplug it, get it out of the way when I'm not using it, and nothing else tied onto the press itself. One of the other modifications that I did was to change the die locking rings. I kept having trouble on both, not so much on the Lee Pro 1000, but I had more of a problem on my Lee Turret press with the dies coming loose. The normal locking ring that comes with the Lee dies has a rubber O-ring, and I don't know why. I would tighten them as tight as I could by hand. They would come loose. I'd take a wrench and give them a little bit of snug with a wrench without getting too tight, and they invariably kept coming loose. Like I say, not quite as much on the Lee Pro 1000 here, but on my Lee turret. So I bought some Hornady locking rings, and they do not have the rubber O-ring deal, but they do have a Allen locking system that it doesn't lock onto the threads of the die itself. You can see that it's split, and once you've got your die where you want it, you just tighten up with an Allen wrench. You tighten it up and it squeezes the die in good. I have not had any problem with the Lee's the Lee dies backing out unless I want them to. compared to using the rubber grommet type of locking nut that's provided by Lee. I don't remember the cost on the Hornady die locking rings. They weren't too much. If I'm not mistaken, they came, you order them in sets of 3.